Now, we're going to talk about PEMF, the fifth element, and this essential element was discovered, well, it's been around for a long time, but it was really known to be essential when Yuri Gagarin went out into space for just an hour and 48 minutes. He circled the Earth, and when he got back, just being just a short period of time outside of the Earth's magnetism, he came back with depression, bone loss, muscle degeneration, decreased metabolism, impaired perception, disorientation, and actually died at a very young age. And since that historic flight, and again, a lot of people don't realize this, magnetic generators have been more or less put into all the space launches. Now, and we've also used, and also verified this with zero field studies, which are studies that have been done here on Earth that can block out the magnetic fields using what's called mu steel. And it's true that living cells in our bodies and life itself here on Earth cannot exist without these Earth-based pulse magnetic fields. So that's why we call it an essential element, just like food, water, oxygen, and sleep. In fact, you can live longer without food and water than you can without pulsed electromagnetic fields, or at least it's about on par with water. So PEMF is the fifth element, critical for life. Without it, we would actually die. And with not enough of it, we get sick. And Yuri Gagarin's historic flight was the first evidence of this. So let's take a look at the Earth's pulse magnetic fields, which primarily the fundamental overtones of these frequencies of the Earth are within 0 to 30 hertz. And that's going to be a theme throughout this video, 0 to 30 hertz. This is what I want you to really take home with you. This is what our bodies need. This is what life needs. And the Schumann resonant frequency, which is, just to keep it simple, the ionosphere of the Earth is sort of a resonant cavity, kind of like a tuning fork, and it rings to the frequency of 7.83 hertz. And this frequency is related to the geometry and the dimensions of the Earth itself and the ionosphere. And 7.83, it's not set in stone, it does fluctuate a little bit, but it's, very, very much around that. And just as there's a middle C on a piano and higher octaves, there are higher octaves of the frequency 7.83 on the Earth. Now, the second frequency on the Earth, besides the Schumann, is the actual, and you can see this, the picture in the middle here, is the frequency of the magnetic grid of the Earth itself. And that's been shown to be around 11.75 hertz. And it varies from the pole to the equator a little bit, but it's more or less around 11.75. And the higher harmonics of that are 16.65. So you can see that between the Schumann and the Earth's magnetic frequencies, which are the two most fundamental frequencies, that they're roughly within 0 to 30 hertz. Now, the brain waves also operate primarily from 0 to 30 hertz, from low delta to high beta. O'Keefe and Nadel showed that the hippocampus of the brain is very much tuned to 7.83 hertz, and the pineal gland has very high amounts of magnetite, which resonates to this frequency. Now, Addy and Bowen discovered a biological window of frequencies the human cell responds to that corresponds almost perfectly to the Earth-based frequencies of 0 to 30 hertz. And this was also confirmed by Siskin and Walker in 1995. And Dr. Zimmerman studied hands-on healers with advanced squid technology, basically just a way to measure very weak magnetic fields, and showed that these energy healers actually emitted from their hands frequencies from roughly 0.3 to 30 hertz, with a peak at 7 to 8 hertz. Think about that. That's about where the Schumann resonant frequency is. And this was confirmed by Sato in Japan in 1992 on Qigong practitioners. So I want to really go into this in a little more detail because this is so important, this 0 to 30 hertz. So here on the Earth is a picture of the Schumann spectrum, and the red vertical lines are the Earth magnetic field frequencies. And you can see 0 to 30 includes the most important and most primary frequency spikes. And again, like we said, the Schumann frequency is produced by mainly lightning strikes and solar flares that ring the Earth ionosphere to these frequencies. And the second frequency, like we mentioned, is the Earth's magnetic grid. And again, the primary harmonics are in the 0 to 30 hertz range. Now let's take a look here at the brain waves. And you can see this from low delta at the very bottom to beta. The brain waves operate from 0 to 30 hertz. Think about that. Our brain is tuned to the frequencies of the Earth, and the states of consciousness are connected to these Earth-based frequencies. In fact, look at something. If we stayed within the 7.83, we would be between theta and alpha, which is a very relaxed state of mind. And of course, a lot of people are not in that range because of a lot of factors, which we'll talk about later. But this is so crucial to what I want you to really take home with you is that we really operate within this frequency range, and we need these frequencies to survive. So now let's take a look at something really neat. The Schumann resonant frequency and the brain in alpha, which is a very relaxed state. And you can see the brain matches the Schumann. So there's an intimate connection between our brain and our Earth. Now here's the study by Addy and Bowen that showed that human cells actually respond to frequencies from 0 to 30. You can see if you go above 30, which you can see 35, a little bit of response at 35, but anything above that, there's just no response, with a peak being around, according to their study, around 16. And, but you can see a bulk of the response that human cells respond to is in the 0 to 30 hertz range. And this was confirmed by Siskin and Walker, which you can see in the diagram below. For example, nerve regeneration, 2 hertz, bone growth, 7 hertz. So different tissues respond to different frequencies in this range. And here's another image of Zimmerman's studies and some of the different frequencies that correspond to different body parts. Again, the key thing here is that the body responds to this 0 to 30 hertz range. And Dr. Zimmerman and Dr. Sato confirmed that we not only need these frequencies, but we actually emit them from our hands and our body. And it's really, really fast. Really think about that for a minute. And so I want to tie this all together with this diagram here. Now this is really the holy grail of everything I'm trying to talk about. So we just mentioned that the Earth frequency, the Earth itself, primarily gives off the 0 to 30 hertz range. We talked about the brain primarily operates from low delta to high beta from 0 to 30 hertz. We talked about the cells. Addy and Bowen and Siskin and Walker talked about or proved that our cells optimally absorb 0 to 30 hertz, and our bodies actually emit 0 to 30 hertz. Think about this for a minute. These are the frequencies of life on this planet, and these are the frequencies that we need and the frequencies that we're just not getting enough of anymore.